Crusader Kings 2 was released on Valentine's Day 2012 and marked the start of the era of Paradox Interactive supporting their in-house games for years to come. With the long-term support and much more integration for modding, the game has seen a staggering amount of mods, both good and bad. Those mods make it possible to come back to the game even if you feel like you have done everything in the vanilla base game that is there to be done. Today, I will give you a totally objective ranking of the top 5 total conversion mods for Crusader Kings 2. Please keep in mind that both CK2 Plus and the Historical Immersion project are excluded from this ranking, seeing as they are total overhauls that, while changing the game experience fundamentally, exist to enhance the experience of playing in medieval Europe instead of bringing you into an entirely new setting. Also excluded are all total conversion mods that have been abandoned and do not have anyone at all working on them anymore. If a mod is one or more versions behind the current patch, they are still considered for this ranking as long as somebody of the mod team is still actively trying to update the mod. With that being said, and without further ado, let's get started. Rank 5 goes to Warhammer Geheimnisnacht. This mod has been worked on since 2015 and is one of the most feature-packed mods out there for Crusader Kings 2. Different from most other modding projects, the team chose to only have a single start date, meaning that they could focus on that one and that one alone. This has resulted in an incredibly detailed player experience, which makes gameplay vary greatly depending on the region of a playthrough. The team has created a ridiculously dense and beautiful map of the world of Warhammer Fantasy, while not neglecting the artwork for events, troops and characters either. The fully rounded project invites both long-term fans and people new to the Warhammer franchise to take a look at the magnificent lore and immerse themselves into a world full of beasts, magic and ratmen. Although everyone of course knows that the Skaven are merely a myth. The start date is a great choice because it throws the player into a world in motion. The centerpiece of the world, the Empire of Man, is embroiled in an internal conflict with several pretenders eyeing the throne, but from the east comes the true, greater threat. Players can choose to reunify the Empire or abuse its weakness and take it apart as the legendary vampire Vlad von Karstein. In the far west, the Witch King is trying to utterly annihilate his high elven foes, while the influence of chaos is spreading with the help of its servants everywhere. The mod has a sophisticated system for flavor, religion and even magic. In fact, the Geheimnisnacht magic system practically overshadows all other magic attempts made in mods and is a main driving force behind the quality of this mod. It all comes together to what is a contender for the most detailed mod for all Paradox games and pulls the player into a tough choice between rooting out heresy or being the harbinger of chaos. Nonetheless, there are two heavy downsides to all of this. While the details and integrated systems are breathtaking, they slow the game speed down to a crawl, and the wait times between important events can easily be long enough to prepare an entire English breakfast without missing anything. Additionally, while there are still some excellent modders working on the project, progress has been slow and has kept the mod at version 2.8.1.1 of CK2, several versions behind. Warhammer Geheimnisnacht is an excellent mod which would have likely ranked much higher if those issues were to be resolved. No matter, it is a well-deserved 5th rank. Rank 4 goes to Elder Kings, one of the most well-known mods and franchises in the world. The mod throws players into the beloved world of the Elder Scrolls series by Bethesda and probably makes plenty of people scratch their heads wondering how Todd Howard has not yet decided to license out the TES franchise to any grand strategy gaming company. The mod has multiple start dates which are primarily set during the Second Era, meaning that the player can explore the world of Nirn before the time frame of the single-player mainline games. This time period was a wise pick, seeing as Crusader Kings 2 is indeed not just a game of characters, but also a game of the rise and fall of empires. A mod set during the Third Era, for example, would primarily face the issue of a strong and stable empire, which would be a huge hurdle in designing an interesting mod. During the times of the mod, players can choose to start during the Interregnum, in which Tamriel is entirely splintered, or jump right into the Three Banners War, during which the three alliances of Elder Scrolls Online duke it out against everyone's favorite Daedra, Molag Bal. The different Elder Scrolls races feel quite unique, and players will always be tempted to become Daedra worshippers because of the amazing choice of integrating Daedric interventions by using the vanilla Chinese Empire interface. On top of that, the beautiful art within the mod enhances the immersion significantly. The mod team has been diligently updating the mod, practically adding more mechanics and flavor every single week. They also opened up this process to the community by allowing everyone to get access to the internal version of the mod, meaning that there is no long wait for an update to the current CK2 version, because getting the newest internal build is just a few clicks away. Sadly, Elder King's decision to have an overwhelming amount of start dates has also opened up the mod to the typical drawbacks of such a decision. Many of the start dates feel like a lost child in Walmart that never wanted to go shopping anyway but was dragged there by its parents. The balance and dynamic of the world goes missing in many of them, and it is advised to generally stick to the interregnum start date for a free-for-all. Similar to this, Elder Kings includes a map encompassing much more than just Tamriel. Akavir, the remains of Yokuda, Piandonea, and Admora also show up on the map, but fall down the wayside in terms of gameplay. While the artwork of Akavir is absolutely incredible, since there is barely any lore on the continent and its inhabitants, gameplay feels fairly shallow compared to Tamriel itself. Yokuda is merely a side note as is, seeing as most of the continent sunk into the ocean and most of its inhabitants jumped ship towards Hammerfell. Piandonea might be ruled by living sea elves, but its gameplay is practically as dead as the population of Admora. A focus on creating a highly detailed map of Tamriel and bringing in the civilizations of the other continents with the help of the off-map invasion or the Chinese Emperor mechanics would have suited gameplay much better. Nonetheless, the rich lore of the Elder Scrolls series and the hard and dedicated work of the team behind the project have made this mod into one of the best in Crusader Kings 2, a well-deserved 4th rank. Rank 3 goes to Warcraft Guardians of Azeroth. This mod has been in development since 2017, but only gained more attention with recent updates. The mod offers players 2 start dates, one before the invasion of the Horde in the Eastern Kingdoms, and the second one during the rise of the Lich King to the far north. The map is absolutely stunning and fully utilizes all possible ways of map design to create something resembling the world of Azeroth as seen in World of Warcraft and the Warcraft game series as closely as possible. The full color palette is used to avoid straying from the rather colorful and expressive world design of the official franchise, and the result is a map that can only be described as absolute eye candy. On top of that, all races play and feel quite differently, giving players all the more reason to jump right back into a mod after a playthrough. The cherry on top, however, is the smart integration of the world-changing events that take place during the time frame of the mod. The invasions of the Horde, the rise of the Lich King, the burning Crusade, and the awakening of one of the old guards are all bound to happen, but the modders chose to limit railroading afterwards to an absolute minimum, meaning that every playthrough ends up with a fully unique and truly living world. This also gives the player that much more agency, seeing as one does not have to wait for the scripted event chains to end before acting, but instead is entirely free in reacting to the worldwide events in whatever way seems appropriate at the time without breaking any storyline events. The dynamic political faction system, which allows for the Alliance and the Horde to rise from the ashes of those that came before them, allows players to face equal foes even deep into the late game. All that remains for this mod is a further enhancement of some of the gameplay elements, such as the mechanics surrounding the old gods, but also, and likely more importantly, the flavor, immersion, and gameplay mechanics of the Murlocs, everyone's favorite race. With that being said, the mod team behind Guardians of Azeroth is outstandingly involved, and will surely continue creating one of the best mods for Crusader Kings 2. This is a well-deserved 3rd rank. Rank 2 goes to After the End Fanfork. The name is quite a mouthful, and it's a result of the long history of this mod. The project was originally started up in 2014 and was simply called After the End. In 2018, the mod creators announced that they were ending support for what had become a massive mod, set after a worldwide disaster that left the modern-day world in shambles. Luckily for the Crusader Kings 2 community, however, user 9kbits announced that he would start up a fan fork and develop the project in the future. 9kbits at this point was already known for his immersion-oriented Judaism mod for the original After the End. Once he took over, development continued and the mod saw new, glorious heights thought impossible before. It is thanks to the dedication of 9kbits that we now have this totally original and unique setting that captures a post-apocalyptic America in its varying degrees of rebuilding. The mod never takes itself too seriously, so that we can now play reborn Norse raiders that admire the long-gone warriors of the Minnesota Vikings football team, worshippers of the almighty dollars, and more seriously minded religions such as the evangelicals, a reborn Aztec faith, and Americanists that intend to bring back the American empire of old. The mod has managed to work all its little in-jokes into a believable world that utilizes the map of North America, Central America, and Northern South America perfectly. Gameplay varies heavily from region to region, and it becomes clear very quickly that this mod does not intend to leave any region behind as half-baked. The lore, mechanics, and flavor are fleshed out in all areas, leading to a high replayability and allowing for intense roleplay. The mod also utilizes off-map empires and invasions expertly by threatening the East Coast with a mighty Redcoat invasion, while the West Coast gets terrorized by the societies of post-disaster Russia and Japan. In the south of the map, players must go toe-to-toe with the off-map Brazilian Empire, which intends to keep its northern borders safe and secure. On top of all of that, the mod also introduced a new empire mechanic, which can even see the strongest empires crumble if its leadership loses too much land and influence in its home region, leading to a complete dissolution of major regional powers. The greatest part about this mod is the setting, while of course inspired by various sources of fictional writings, is entirely original, and absolutely no previous knowledge of the universe is required to jump straight into the game. Pulling off an original universe like this is not just rare, but practically unheard of. Mixing this fact with the astoundingly fleshed out immersive flavor has brought this mod to a well-deserved second place in this ranking. And finally, rank 1 goes to the one and only A Game of Thrones mod. This mod is based on the critically acclaimed A Song of Ice and Fire book series by George R.R. Martin, and is the only true feature-complete total conversion mod for Crusader Kings 2. As of August 2019, further feature implementation has come to an end, at least until the release of the next book of the series, if that ever comes, and the mod is now purely maintained to fix bugs and keep it supported for the newest CK2 version. 7 years of development have led to the 7 kingdoms of Westeros coming to life in an unprecedented way. Most of the vanilla mechanics have been reworked in a way that fits the setting. One of the biggest achievements of this mod must undoubtedly be that the team behind it pulled off having one enormous realm, the Iron Throne, on the map and still making the gameplay within interesting. Civil wars turn into gigantic messes with individual feudal lords and ladies pledging allegiance to the cause they believe to be righteous, potentially risking their neck in the aftermath. The mod also manages to bring together railroading with player agency by having a dynamic system in place to tackle the intricate world of the mod. While Daenerys, for example, can go through with her story as written in the books, the player or the AI could bring her off path. Similarly, the others may bring doom or be defeated in an epic battle. The mod team also managed to create and maintain various bookmarks without treating any of them like an unloved stepchild, making jumping into each one of them worth the player's while. Last but not least, the full and uncompromising inclusion of Essos and the Summer Isles opens an even wider array of opportunities. Players can, quite literally, play on the other side of the world and still feel like they are playing in the center of the world because of all the mechanics and flavor inside. There's only a single reason to not play this mod. If you're still saving yourself for either the HBO show or the book series, you should likely avoid most of the scenarios of the mod or expect to get a hurricane of spoilers blown into your face. Other than that, however, there is very little that can be criticized about this mod project. The dedicated and hard-working team behind the project has also enabled a thriving community around submods that will further enhance your gameplay experience. And with that, this mod is the king of the total conversion mods for Crusader Kings 2. What's your opinion on the mods in the ranking? Was there anything you think I got wrong or missed? Let me know in the comments and leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Consider subscribing for CK2 Let's Plays, streams and more videos like this one. I am One Proud Bavarian, and I will see you later. Alligator.